we all breathe a little bit and take a pause. I think as we do our after action debrief, obviously having Red Cross at the table for that would be really vital. But beyond the debrief around the fire, I think as we think about our Cascadia event potential and the playbook that has been written for that, both at the local level and at the state level, I think we've learned a lot from the smallish disaster compared to what that probably would be if we face that. And I think there's a lot of lessons we can tease out and learn and rebuild that playbook. So hopefully you guys will be willing to sit down and really talk to us about that. And it sounds like, more volunteers for Red Cross in the local area would be an important part of that for you guys. So hopefully we'll do that here in a little bit. All right. Well, thank you again for, oh, go ahead.
No, I said just thank you for having us. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for being here. We appreciate it as well. All right, moving on, Lincoln County Public Health COVID-19 update. Rebecca Austin, our health director, could not be here today, so we have our new deputy director with us. I think Christy's scrolling to provide the data. Yep.
Well, I don't mean to interrupt, but it's 3:45 and Lincoln County School District is on the docket, and we have to leave at 4 o'clock for an all district meeting. Is there any way we could jump in?
Florence, are you able to stay later if we have Dr. Gray go now?
I will message Jen Demers that I'm going to be late for our meeting.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Dr. Gray.
Sorry to ask, but it's just we have another, as I said, we have an all district meeting at 4 o'clock, and this is what we need to do. So yeah, can you give me specifically, is there what in particular commissioners you're looking for from Lincoln County School District? We also have on the line Assistant Superintendent Susan Van Loo, who is our resident COVID expert. Just a general
thank you, Dr.
update.
Gray, for joining us. I think as we were moving into phase 2 here a couple of weeks ago, I think we got an inquiry, one from a reporter and one from a citizen, just kind of asking for a general update from the district. And, our numbers are looking pretty good here and what it looks like in terms of the hybrid model and that kind of a thing. So just kind of a general update on where we are with educational in-person services in Lincoln County.
So I can give a bit of an update and then I'll toss it over to Susan. Going back to the previous conversation with the Red Cross and housing for our kids, we have 358 students who live in the Otis area, and 57 of those students are homeless now due to having no home to go back to and having a very difficult time accessing our online comprehensive distance learning model. So they are largely, some are housed all over the state, but the ones that are here are largely housed in hotels with inadequate Wi-Fi that has made it incredibly difficult for them to be able to access the work that we're doing. And I appreciated your question, Katie Jacobson, about the time is coming where they need to go somewhere. And while Red Cross will get you to the door of your recovery, we are really concerned about where these Lincoln City families are going to go. I know I emailed the mayor and the city manager of Lincoln City. We talked a little bit about FEMA trailers. I don't know if that's real or not, but at some point the kids are going to have to get out of the hotel or out of the tent or off the beach because the weather's turning, and we need to be able to get them hooked up a different way. I also wanted to state that in the very beginning of the problem, the event, the wildfires, personnel from Lincoln County School District was very involved in assisting the Red Cross, because at the very beginning of the situation on that day, it was very disorganized. And that's why we went to look at the Newport Parks and Rec after the shelter had moved from our high school to OCCC, to the rec center. And at that time, people were not being socially distanced or wearing masks, and they were congregating. And we have firsthand observation of that. I just want to say, Doug Hunt, that's probably where that came from. Maybe you came and visited a little later, but in the very beginning, we were incredibly concerned about what the COVID situation would be if that didn't change. And it did change, and it got much more organized, and people began to be separated and wearing masks and doing exactly what they needed to do. I just want to say, we were very concerned at the beginning, and we expressed that concern to Jenny Damaris at the EOC. So glad that things got so much better very quickly. So with the way that the COVID numbers are currently, starting on Monday the 12th, we are implementing what's called the K3 exception. And that means that under the K3 exception, we have less than 30 cases per 100,000, less than 5% positivity rate, no cases in any schools for over 3 weeks. And so kindergarten students from the 4 kindergarten schools will be coming back in person. They're not coming back full time. They come back in a hybrid model. So it's still only half the kids on any given day. And 3 days a week, they're not in school, they're still online. That's the hybrid model. We also, under the limited in-person instruction, are having 2 hours a day of career technical education programs back in all 4 high schools. And we are also having some structured learning center special education students associated with those programs, also in limited in-person instruction for 2 hours a day as well. So we're pretty excited about that because frankly, that's our first foray back into having students on campus. Up to that point, we have been comprehensive distance learning only. And I also want to say that comprehensive distance learning is a minimum of 50% or more of the time teachers are teaching in real time. And so it is not the education we had last spring, which was what we call crisis learning or pandemic learning. It wasn't really, teachers work really hard, don't get me wrong, but it was not what it is now, let's put it that way. So we're looking at if we can keep our numbers down, God willing, and fingers crossed, everybody wearing masks and socially distancing and washing their hands and being careful. We'll be able to add first grade 2 weeks after that, and then second and third grade after that. And after that, we hope to be full on hybrid, and it has a higher standard yet, and that's less than 10 cases per 100,000. And we're very hopeful that we can do that. And then we would begin bringing back another grade and another grade and another grade. And our goal is by the time we hit the new year that we've gone fully hybrid in all grades K-12. And with a view, of course, to having full-time school sometime this year. We're also looking because we have, the school district is under the auspice of the Oregon Department of Ed and the governor's office. So the phases, in a sense, don't really apply to us. We're under the governor because she is the head of education. But because of phase 2 allowing playgrounds to open, October 12th, we're opening our school playgrounds as well. And we'll do that very carefully. It will not be during school hours, and they will be closed during school hours. They'll be open after school hours, and every morning before the kids get there, they will be clean. We are also open now because of having in-person instruction. We can have athletics open to a limited degree, but we will not be able to open our facilities to third parties because with hybrid, You can only have very few kids together at the same time. So we will need all of our facilities all the time in order to socially distance our children properly. So we're still not open for third-party participation at this time. We hope that will change, but for now it will not. So we just heard from the Oregon Department of Ed today in a superintendent's meeting that Lincoln County is on the list. If we have specific students that are displaced by the fires, we can have them in for in-person instruction. I haven't even talked to Susan about that yet, but she's hearing that for the first time. We're gonna have a conversation about, for these 57 kids, what that means. We have opened up childcare in 3 different areas. Hopefully Newport will be the 4th. And we already have students enrolled in school-age childcare in Lincoln City with partnership of Parks and Rec, Toledo Library, OCCC South Campus, and hopefully with Newport Parks and Rec starting very, very soon. So yeah, and those daycares they're going. So we've kind of done some stuff we've never done before. And we're just gonna keep on innovating and being creative and work through teamwork, because life has been nuts, just nuts. And we're just trying really hard to keep up and do what's right for families, staff, and kids, most of all.
Thanks for the update, Dr. Gray, and thanks for being a good partner. You know, I know you and I have worked on some childcare grants and stuff like that together, and just appreciate your help and leadership with that. So thank you. I don't have any questions at this point, but I really appreciate the update and you being here today. I know your schedule's busy. Commissioner Hall, anything for Dr. Gray?
No questions. I appreciate the update as well, and I can certainly empathize here at the county, and for a lot of folks, we're all, thanks to the year of pandemic and wildfire, we're all doing things that we've never, in dealing with situations we've never had to deal with before. But somehow I guess we're all getting through it together. So thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hunt, anything?
Well, I've said this before, Dr. Gray, when you were in a meeting, and I don't know if it was at one of our Board of Commissioner meetings or another one, but I certainly saw the willingness of some of your employees to volunteer and help. I generally get to the Toledo High School parking lot. I don't go on the track because it's closed, but I do park in the parking lot and take a walk through Toledo. And during the fire, there were employees that were outside in front of the Toledo High School. They had food, they had clothing, they had other things to help people that had been relocated. And I actually was able to have a conversation with a couple that was camping in one of the Toledo parks. And they had mentioned that they had been up to the high school. They had been able to take some showers. They'd gotten some food. And so, shout out to those employees. And certainly they weren't the only school district employees, but I witnessed firsthand their willingness to help and the appreciation of some of those that had benefited from their willingness.
The county has been a tremendous partner to the school district, you guys. And I can't thank you enough. We've worked really closely with Rachel Maddox Hughes. She's just a tremendous employee, a great partner, and we are being written into a grant. We've been working on countywide and region-wide childcare grants, and we're going to be the recipient of an extra technology assistant through her efforts and the efforts of the county. The county has been tremendous with just assisting us in any way possible. Our staff has took people in our buses all over the county, brought people from Newport back to their homes. We're since March almost over 1 million meals. If you watch a bus pull up with the lights flashing, People are running up on those buses.
I see it almost-
Right?
I see it almost every day.
Me too. I've taken even pictures and video of that. It's just been a tremendous partnership. It's really hard for people to understand why our kids are not back in school. And it's really hard, and we get hammered on a daily basis. But having just got off the line with Colt Gill with ODE, those metrics are not changing. And I want to tell you that out of the 580,000 kids in Oregon, 5,000 have gotten COVID. 580,000 kids that attend school, probably more kids than that. 5,000 have gotten COVID, 60 have gone to the hospital, and 0 have died, thank God. So all of the states that have followed our metrics, and there are about 4 or 5 that are really strict, they have the same statistics as we do. Very low cases. It's hard to argue with.
I think you're echoing some comments that commissioners were sharing when we were still in phase 1, or hearing comments that commissioners were hearing when we were still in phase 1. So keep up the good work.
Thank you, Amy.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yep, thank you for being here. I know you have to run. Thank you. All right, Florence, you're back up.
All right. Good afternoon, commissioners. Florence Portas, Deputy Director for Public Health. So I will try my best. bear with me. I have a few updates on the indicators. So first of all, the total case count is 485, which include 18 preventive cases. The positivity rate for the week 9/27 to 10/3 is 0.8%, which there was 1 positive test out of 121 tests conducted. You can move on to the next slide, please. So, per usual, the age group that is the most affected by COVID-19 continues to be the 20 to 29-year-old. We can move on. Thank you. There is still, according to this graph, a pretty low community transmission, and the mostly prevalent community transmission is among the 20 to 39-year-olds. So, over the last few days, so I can give you a case count for October that is 4 at this time. And for the last slide, I believe the public health indicators. We have the first 2 indicators that are in green, and this is good. I just want to mention for the very big jump in increase in new cases in the last 7 days, because we have so very little numbers of COVID-19, the percentage, the jump seems really high, but the small numbers that we have can explain that big increase. In terms of the percent of cases that are not being traced to a known source in the last 7 days, so same thing, the small numbers can very much explain the higher percentage here. And while talking with Molly Vance, who is our communicable disease supervisor. She was mentioning that when we interview people, they just don't know where they could have contracted the disease, and some of them had traveled outside of the community, which could be an explanation among others. And lastly, for the percent of cases in the last 7 days that needed a follow-up within 24 hours. So we realized at the end of last week that we're having a data entry error, which explains the percentage not being met. So this error has been fixed, and we should see that number go back up. So additionally, yes?
Go ahead, I'll wait till the end.
Okay, thank you. So I wanted also to share that on September 24th, there was a testing operation at the Pacific Seafood in Newport, where they tested 121 employees, and those employees were day shift employees, and those individuals came back negative, all of them. And then Rebecca and I discussed, we wanted to let you know that we're going to do a tabletop with the school district and the various schools in the county on Thursday morning to kind of get ready and prepared for various scenarios that might arise with COVID-19 and how we'll handle the situation. And finally, as you may or may not know, the CDC has made some recommendations for Halloween activities, and the Oregon Health Authority has adopted those recommendations, and pretty much the recommendation is that it would be best if people could avoid trick-or-treats this year. So this is what I've got. Any questions?
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you earlier. So my one question I had on the percent of cases in the last 7 days with follow-up in 24 hours, which dropped down to 78%. You were saying that was a data entry kind of situation. And I know we recently converted over to a new system, and that conversion, not just for us, but for many counties, has been a little bit problematic. So my question is, was it simply that the data got put in incorrectly, but that we were actually following up with people on time? It just didn't get recorded as such?
So my understanding is that when OHA assigns cases, they assign cases to individuals that who are in charge of the case investigation in the system. What has happened is that some of those cases were assigned to people who were not working on that particular day, and they hadn't clicked the out of office little button in the Opera system. So that counted again.
I see. So when you're gone, you're supposed to log out, so to speak, so that you don't get cases assigned. Okay, but it sounds like we've corrected that now.
We have.
Okay, thank you. No more questions from me. Commissioner Hall, questions or comments?
I don't have any questions this time. The update's helpful, and I appreciate the context that when people see rather dramatic percentage increases, it's so important that they understand we're still talking about really, really small numbers.
Exactly.
Commissioner Hunt?
Yes, exactly what Commissioner Hall said, and I'll give some mathematical examples. If you have one positive case and then you go to 2 positive cases in a 7-day period, that's a 200% increase. If you go from 2 cases to 4 cases in a 7-day period, that's a 200% increase. So while at initial glance, you may see the county doesn't comply in 3 out of 6 of those categories. If you look beneath the numbers, our actual numbers of cases and our actual percentage of positive cases is extraordinarily low. And therefore, I think that puts the those other numbers in proper perspective. And that's all I have.
Yeah, and in closing, I would just remind people that, yes, we are in phase 2 and, you're able to go work out now and make reservations to go swimming and see that movie theaters have opened and that kind of stuff. But I would just remind people that there's a lot riding on us being able to both stay in phase 2, but also being able to get our kids back to school. As Dr. Gray said, they want to get kindergarten back and then 2 weeks first grade and then 2 weeks second grade and on and up we go. And so, it's not a free for all. We still have to wear a mask. That's a state policy. And hopefully that we can maintain both phase 2 and keep our numbers down so that our kids can get back to school. So just a reminder to folks that, we're not out of this by any means. All right, Wayne, anything you wanted to add to the COVID-19 discussion?
No, I think you covered it very well.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Florence. And I know you have another meeting to jet off to, so feel free to go. Next up under reports, commissioner reports, I will go ahead and pass. I feel like I don't have a report this week. Commissioner Hall, anything?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. A couple of things. On Thursday morning, I believe it was, I was part of a conference call with representatives of the Oregon Community Foundation, the president of the Association of Oregon Counties, Jim Doherty, some other groups such as CASA of Oregon, which is working on, which focuses on farm worker housing. And if I understand correctly, Commissioner Jacobson, you've had some conversations with AOC staff as well. But they are pushing and trying to encourage the leadership of Oregon Housing and Community Services to get behind what's called Project Turnkey, an allocation that if the proposed $20 million they're asking for is realized, could potentially acquire and open up as intermediate, I would say, fire refugee housing, 1,000 units across the state of Oregon. And I would say that although the OHCS leadership didn't make a firm commitment at that meeting, there was certainly a definite receptivity to the idea and at least liking the concept. This is certainly not a new idea. A lot of communities, either local government or nonprofits, have done conversions of lodging properties to permanent residence. California, with all the wildfires that have ravaged the state over the last few years, did a very similar model on a much bigger scale called Project Homekey. And certainly there are, challenges and pitfalls, but the enthusiasm and momentum for that is very strong. Then on Friday morning, I chaired the monthly meeting of the Oregon Housing Stability Council, which advises the Housing and Community Services Department, works with the governor and the legislature on housing policies and priorities, and certainly the impact of the wildfires was front and center in the discussion, and OHCS trying to mobilize very quickly a variety of resources to support folks again in the immediate need, perhaps after the Red Cross and others kind of put people at the gate, helping them through the next steps. Kind of a good illustration, unfortunately, of how widespread this wildfire disaster has been. There are 9 members on the council from all parts of the state, and 4 of us live in communities that have seen significant impact on residential housing stock and just every other aspect of community life because of wildfire. And the leadership offered us a pretty firm assurance that this is priority number one for the agency right now, and they would keep us updated pretty constantly on progress. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Commissioner Hall. Commissioner Hunt, do you have a report to share this week?
I'll just briefly mention a couple of activities that are actually involving jobs, job creations. The Maritime Task Force has a consultant that is presently reaching out to various stakeholders in the public sector as well as the private sector to fine tune what are the actual needs of the maritime industry, and then that is toward developing some educational programs and job training programs to address those needs, as there is a big need on the horizon with people retiring and those jobs pay above the state average. Also in the area of jobs, working with the Economic Alliance Board and Greg Wolf from Oregon Solutions at AOC. And we will be putting together, I'll be convening some listening sessions for, again, stakeholders in all parts of the county to provide input on how they envision the county doing economic development, which is a prime driver of jobs. So a couple of activities related to jobs.
All right, thanks both of you for sharing. I will first apologize for my kind of erratic behavior. It probably looks weird. I have a bee in my office that I've been trying to kill all meeting. So apologies for that. I think I just got him. So hopefully I'll be done with that, but I'm sure it looks odd. So
Get the bee a hive and you'll have honey, Katie.
I should outside. Yes. All right. Moving on under decision action, Thompson Sanitary. Oh, my agenda just went away. Sorry, Thompson's sanitary uniform rate reporting format presented by Wayne Belmont County Council, Rob and Amy Thompson from Thompson Sanitary. So Wayne, I'll let you kick it off.
Thank you, Commissioners. And again, because I'm on the phone, I'm not really sure who's here from Thompson's. I assume Rob is here, but it's Amy and or Joe Cook or Ken Riley. Who's actually at the meeting?
Yeah, thank you, Wayne. So my business partner and brother, Ken Riley, he's on the call, and Joe Cook did join us. I've been texting with them. He's the other caller on, and then my wife, Amy, that's why we're not wearing masks. He's our recycling education coordinator for Thompson Sanitary. So back to you, Wayne.
Thank you. And first of all, let me apologize for sort of the lateness of bringing this matter before the Board of Commissioners. Obviously, we've had one or two things going on here. Thompson's did submit the report as required under the Lincoln County Code, our uniform rate reporting format, in a timely fashion. It was received. We just didn't get around to scheduling it at an appropriate time here to take consideration. I do know that the same report is provided to the city of Newport, which is the other franchise area within Thompson's service area. And the city has acted on the request from Thompson Sanitary Service. And Rob, you or Ken or Joe or Amy can tell us about what happened when you went to the city too. But this is, we've gone through a couple of these recently with the other franchise haulers in the county, North Lincoln and Dolls. And received a request. So the board's very familiar with the process of reviewing these particular requests and the adjustments that need to be made in accordance with the county code. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rob, and he can lead the group through their presentation, and then I'll answer any questions anybody might have.
Okay, thanks, Wayne. Yeah, our report was submitted, and thank you for pointing out the fact that we tried to get this in front of the Board of Commissioners in a timely fashion. We've been awfully busy as well, and just one thing seems to happen after another here in 2020. So the city of Newport chose option B, which is to allow kind of a postponement of a CPI after 30 days notice. And so we've provided two options to the board today to review. This uniform rate reporting format's been around since the early 2000s, and that's why we continue to work with Joe Cook, who was one of the original authors of that reporting format. And so with that, I'll probably turn it over to Joe and/or really at this time, just answer any questions that the commissioners may have about the report this year.
I don't have any questions at this point. Commissioner Hall, questions?
I really don't, this is a regular exercise for us, and as usual, everything is laid out in a very straightforward, clear format. So appreciate the information.
Commissioner Hunt, anything? Oh, you're muted, Commissioner Hunt.
Yeah, couldn't find the button, No, I guess my only comment would be ordinarily I like to see, increases done kind of routinely, and I think that leads to less sticker shock if you let them build up. But I think under the circumstances, a delay of a short period of time certainly is probably the right thing and makes a lot of sense. So I thank Thompson Sanitary for offering that option and seeing the value in it. So thank you.
Okay, Wayne, do we need a action today, or do we need to wait a following week to do that? No, I think we're on decision and action. So do you need a motion?
I do need a motion, and you have the two options that are outlined in the letter that was provided. And again, for purposes of consistency, if you followed what was done by the city of Newport, it's probably going to be simpler. The county unincorporated area is a smaller franchise area than the city itself within the total service area for Thompson. So what we have tried to do, at least in the past, was look to see what our partners did in other jurisdictions and try to be consistent with that. So.
Yeah, so Madam Chair, I'll move for approval of the uniform rate reporting format and the increase in rates as offered under option B.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Thanks for being here, everybody.
Thank you very much. And just have two other quick items. One is I submitted an update on what we've done for outreach and communication to our customer base. Has to do with recycling education. I hope that you get a chance just to quickly flip through that. It's about 4 pages of how we keep our customers, keep them in the loop on what's going on for things at the curb, the curbside services. And then the other item, I really want to say a big thank you, Doug Hunt. You've always been our liaison between the haulers in Lincoln County and the solid waste district manager. Haul Sites is new to us recently, and the haulers met last Thursday, and we talked about fire debris, and we talked about all kinds of things. And it's just really nice to have Paul on board. He's doing a great job, and I think he's working about as hard as he can right now with all the things that are faced with our waste shed. And so that's just a big thank you to Paul. And we've worked with him on a number of things that I won't go into now, but he's doing a heck of a good job.
So if I
Thanks for
may,
that.
Chair Jacobson, thank you, Rob. And dare I say, I think he got thrown into the fire pretty quickly on his job. But I'm going to ask for your help here. My wife has accumulated a substantial stack of I guess alkaline batteries, and we used to be able to recycle those through the courthouse. Is it my understanding that there's really no way to recycle those, although somebody said the library is doing it, but they're not open?
So
No, you're muted, Rob.
I went backwards on the mute button. So so Commissioner Hunt, we accept those at our office where our recycling center is at. And so you can bring those to us. I'm not as familiar with Dahl and Toledo, if they accept those or not, which would be closer to where I think live. And with COVID and closures, The library is another location, but obviously not open to that. So
Well, I'll confirm with Dolls, but if not, you'll see me with just say a sack of batteries. Thank you.
that sounds good. We'll do the right thing with them.
I would just add, I'll do a little shameless promotion for Thompson's, that they have a fabulous app, Commissioner Hunt, where you can look up what is recyclable. So Amy's given me the thumbs up, which I think you told me about at our last VOC meeting that you were at, and it's quite good. So thanks for that.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah.
Good point. Good reminder.
The app is pretty neat, and so is the Waste Wizard. So thank you all for your time, and thanks for having us on the agenda today.
All right, thank you both. All right, on to our other decision action item in the matter of an emergency public health declaration for cleanup of hazardous waste related to Echo Mountain Complex Fire, presented by Wayne Belmont County Council.
Commissioners, this is another item that is a prerequisite to our full cleanup program, debris cleanup program that we're doing. In our discussions with other counties and the state, it looks like what we need to do is identify something that we already know, and that is the toxicity of the waste that resulted from the fire, and recognize that through an appropriate resolution, a declaration locally, that there is an emergency due to the nature of the waste that's there and the need for cleaning it up. And so I've been working with other counties, and in fact, I've been diligently working as this has progressed to finalize up the resolution. I think I have it just about done for you to adopt today. And let me just describe what it does. It's that both Lincoln County and the state of Oregon and the federal government have declared emergencies and disasters because of the wildfire itself. And this is just an ancillary or component part of that declaration. And that is that we're declaring that the waste that resulted from the wildfire is toxic and a public health threat, and therefore needs to be cleaned up. So I've been working again with local counties to get the appropriate language in here, identify the provisions in our local code and emergency operations plan, as well as the provisions in state law that allow us to do this and proceed in this manner. So that has been prepared, and your findings are essentially that debris and ash from the fires contain hazardous substances, and that's including the stuff that was burned, such as siding, roofing, tiles, insulation, other household items, paint, gasoline, cleaning products, pesticides, those kinds of things. And that debris does remain after the wildfire, and it exposes residents to toxic materials, and therefore it needs to be properly handled, transported, and disposed of. And then there's a variety of other findings related to that. And then the final act is that you're declaring basically an additional state of emergency for Lincoln County as of this date, due to the fact that there's hazardous waste that was created by the fire, and that that needs to be cleaned up in an appropriate manner and safe manner. So if I can I get a motion to adopt this particular resolution? I will give this to you at the conclusion of the meeting. We'll get it adopted and off to our EOC, the state emergency management, and then off to FEMA. And that, again, we've kind of checked one of those boxes that's necessary for us to proceed with the debris cleanup program.
I'd be happy to
Any
make
questions?
that motion. I'm sorry, but first, could I ask Mr. Belmont a question? And that would be,
Sure.
so this will now be our third concurrent declaration of emergency. And I'm just wondering, in your 34 years with the county, Mr. Belmont, have you ever seen a situation where we had three separate emergency declarations at the same time?
No, and I'm hoping we don't have to do a fourth, because I keep looking for more rain so we don't have to actually go the route of declaring a drought, since that's the other one that's actually hanging over us right now.
Historic times indeed, but not in the way we'd wish for, but we deal with them. So I am happy to make the motion to declare an emergency public health declaration for cleanup of hazardous waste related to the Echo Mountain Complex fire.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Thank you, Wayne, for making sure we can get that resolution in as quickly as possible. Appreciate it. All right, any other business? Commissioner Hall, other business?
I think that's enough for one afternoon.
Okay, Commissioner Hunt, anything?
I would agree. I think that's enough for one afternoon.
Okay, Wayne, anything else?
Nothing more. Thank you.
Okay, great. We will go ahead and adjourn. Our next Monday, October 12th, 2020, 3 p.m. meeting is canceled due to Association of Oregon Counties Day. I think now more than ever, it's really important that we are all advocating. So we will not have a meeting that day. So our next Board of Commissioners meeting is Monday, October 19th, 2020 at 3 p.m. virtually. All right, thanks everybody. You're adjourned.
Thank
This
you.
conference is no longer being recorded.